Thank you, Anthony. I have the coolest job on campus. I'm the entrepreneur in residence, and I get to work with students who are starting businesses. If the 140 conference is pursuing the state of now, taking education and creating real-life businesses is the state of now. So we're going to take a little bit of a turn. You know, we've been talking about the web and everything we do on it. These companies that we have up there are using the web in their business. In order to make that business successful, they've had to pursue some funding. And each of these teams are in various stages of funding. We have Patrick Ambron, who's going to be here from Brand Yourself, who's already done an A round. We have Dave and Eric from Graphiters, who have a seed round already raised and are now pursuing an A round. And then we have Ariel Norling, who is just starting out on her funding process. So I've asked each of the teams to talk for a couple of minutes about their experience, and then we'll go from there. So first off, Patrick Ambron.
Thank you very much. So I'm Patrick from brandyourself.com. And just to give you an idea of what we do is we're the only do-it-yourself platform that allows anybody to take control of their own search results. And it started because our co-founder, Pete, when he was in the I school, couldn't get an internship because he was being mistaken for a drug dealer in Google. So we realized it was important, but if you don't know how SEO works, which most people don't even know what that is, you have to pay a reputation company thousands of dollars. So we wanted to create a free product that allowed anybody to do it themselves. So, we went out and we built the first version ourselves, and we got out there. It took a while, and there was a lot of hustling involved, and we started getting users, but we had a lot of problems. We needed more people, and that's when we decided it made sense for us to take a round, because even though we were doing well, we wanted to be able to hire better people and take a step back and rebuild. So we raised the Series A round of, we put a total of about $1.5 million of capital into the company from a handful of VCs. The main VC firm was a firm called Zelkova Ventures, which is a New York City-based fund. They were some of the first investors in companies like Clout and Fab.com. And then we had strategic angels, and an angel investor is someone who invests their own money. So, for example, we have people like Barney Pell, who is essentially the inventor of Bing and Microsoft's head search strategist, which is a good person for us to have for obvious reasons. So that allowed us to take a step back and rebuild the company, which we just relaunched, a new product, and it's been doing great. So I want to go a little bit over of kind of the stages of advice I give people who are kind of in a similar process. So funding I always separate into three kind of points: getting in front of the investors, the actual pitching, and then the closing. So I have a few points for each of them. The first is for getting in front of them. I always make a list of focused investors who are actually good for you specifically. A lot of people run around and there's a lot of investors and they end up not doing a good job because they aren't focused enough. We made a list of very specific investors who made sense for us and tried to get on their radar. Because, believe it or not, when you're 20 with no track record, you can't just walk into a firm and ask for money. So what we did, once we had the list, we just found a way to get in front of them. And that can be, intros are always the best way. So, we'd go on LinkedIn, see if you happen to know anyone, use the alumni network, see if you can find someone that you can talk to first to get excited about your company to make an introduction. If you can't do that, the second thing is cold calling. Get really good at being friendly. I learned, if you do it early in the morning, you won't get the secretary at 7:30 or 8. The people are in the office, but the secretaries aren't, so that's your best chance of getting them. And then third, if you have to, stalk them in a healthy way. We talked about Barney. We really wanted someone in the search field, so I found out he was going to an event. I got into the event, sat down at his table and met him that way, and it turned into an investment. So once you have a focused list, it allows you to really be aggressive about getting. And then the second part is learn how to be, and it's the most important skill, respectfully persistent. That's a very fine line, but what we did is once I had these guys, everyone who came in our round initially turned us down, which is important for, I think, entrepreneurs to know. I mean, we were young, they didn't think we were ready, but I sent them an email every single week of update to show them what we were doing. And at first they went unanswered, but by a few months I was getting weekly feedback from these great people and developed a mentor relationship. So by the time we were ready for money, they knew who we were. Okay, the second part, the actual pitch. 2 points. The first one that's very important is I call it control the pace of the game. It's a sports analogy. And what I mean by that is if you get in front of any investor, they tend to think they know everything about everything. Which means if you let them, they'll start asking you questions, the wrong questions, out of context. And what happens is everyone walks away a little bit confused and not sure what was going on. Make sure you lead that conversation. The best way to do it is right before a meeting, send them an agenda and say, I'll take questions afterwards, but have a 5-minute overview, and that frames the conversation. And then the final thing I'll say is know how to use the money. A lot of people go and say, we want $500,000. It'll help us be better. And investor, you want to show an investor their role. So it should be, look, over the next year, we're going to hit, X, Y, Z, 10,000 users, 10,000 revenue, whatever. All we need to do is increase our conversion rate by 1% and close one more deal. And we have all we need to do that is one more developer and enough time to do this. And then then they see where their money fits in, and suddenly they realize that an investment would be a good investment because they're just helping you along a path that makes sense. But I'll end there.